Shilo Sanders, attorney, fires back against bankruptcy trustee. For more than 2 years now, the name Shilo Sanders has lived in a tense, uneasy space between football fame and legal turmoil, suspended somewhere between what his future once promised and what his past still demands of him. The courtroom has become an unexpected arena. The bankruptcy system an opponent he can't simply evade with footwork or athletic instinct. And now, with his attorney firing back in a pointed legal counterpunch, the latest chapter in his long, winding financial battle unfolds with the same tension and drama that have followed him since he first filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection in 2023. What was once a story about a young defensive back trying to carve his place on a football field has become a complicated legal saga about debt, nil earnings, corporate entities, judgments, and a trustee who believes Sanders broke the rules. The complaint that set everything off came in October, when bankruptcy trustee David Wadsworth accused Shilo of improperly transferring roughly $250,000 during the proceedings. To Wadsworth, these transfers were never Shilo's to move in the first place. They were assets of the bankruptcy estate, earnings he believes should have been collected, accounted for, and distributed to creditors. But to Shilo's attorney, Carrie Riley, the trustee's claim is built on a flawed understanding of the law and an even more flawed interpretation of the timeline. In a forceful court filing, Riley didn't merely dispute the trustee's interpretation. She challenged its legitimacy, insisting the trustee has misread the law, misunderstood Shilo's earnings, and mischaracterized the purpose and ownership of the companies at the center of this dispute. Those companies, Big 21 LLC and Headache Gang LLC, are intertwined with Shilo's name, image, and likeness deals. Nil opportunities bloomed for the Sanders family the moment Coach Prime landed at Colorado, and for Shilo, those deals became an essential new source of financial hope, a way to earn legitimately even while drowning in an 8-figure judgment from a lawsuit he had lost by default. But NIL money, like everything else in bankruptcy court, exists inside a thicket of rules and definitions. The core argument here isn't about whether Shilo made money. It's about when he made it, who technically earned it, and whether it was his to use or whether the trustee had the right to intercept it. From Riley's perspective, the law is clear. Income earned after filing for bankruptcy, especially income tied to active work and services performed by the debtor, is excluded from the bankruptcy estate. This means it belongs to the debtor, not the trustee. The trustee, in her view, is overreaching, trying to claim assets that legally fall outside his scope. She emphasized that Big 21 operated after the bankruptcy petition was filed, that the deals were executed after the petition was filed, that the money tied to those deals represents post-petition earnings. In her filing, she insisted that none of that revenue should be subject to clawbacks or redistribution. If anything, she argued, the trustee failed to take steps to manage or control Big 21, which further undermines his attempt to now reach back and claim ownership of its funds. A judge will decide whether the trustee has pleaded his case adequately, whether there's enough legal weight behind his argument to justify dragging this battle toward a trial, or whether Shilo's team is right and the complaint should be dismissed outright. If the motion to dismiss is granted, Shilo keeps the $250,000 in question, and that portion of the bankruptcy dispute evaporates. If it is denied, the fight continues and the stakes get even higher, because suddenly Shilo's actions during bankruptcy become the subject of deeper scrutiny, and the trustee's claim of improper transfers becomes a potential threat to the protections Shilo is seeking. Legal experts are split on what it means. Angela Litwin, a respected bankruptcy law professor at the University of Texas, called the trustee's complaint a big deal, though she also questioned why it took so long to file. That delay adds a layer of curiosity, and perhaps skepticism, around the trustee's motivations and timing. But Litwin also pointed out something pivotal. Post-petition revenue that stems from the debtor's effort and labor is supposed to belong to the debtor. That idea, the fresh start principle, sits at the heart of American bankruptcy law. The system is designed to strip away burdens that prevent debtors from rebuilding their lives, not to suffocate their post-filing efforts to get back on their feet. But she also added a warning. Bankruptcy relief is powerful, but it demands honesty and full transparency. If Shilo crossed a line, intentionally or not, that could jeopardize the very relief he seeks. The $250,000 dispute is only one subplot in a larger, heavier story that has shadowed Shilo since the moment he filed for bankruptcy in October 2023. He wasn't just another debtor seeking a reset. He was facing more than $11 million in debt, almost all of it owed to a single man, former Dallas school security guard John Darjean. That debt stems from a 2016 incident when Shilo, then just 15 years old, was accused of causing severe and permanent injuries to Darjean while the guard attempted to confiscate his phone. Shilo claimed self-defense, but years later, when the case finally reached trial in 2022, he did not appear. Without him present, the court issued a default judgment of $11.89 million, one of the most staggering judgments ever tied to a teenager in a school incident. Once Darjean began aggressively pursuing the judgment, Shilo had nowhere else to turn. Bankruptcy became the only move left, the legal mechanism that could potentially wipe away the massive debt and give him a chance to move forward. But Darjean didn't simply sit back. He filed 2 complaints of his own in bankruptcy court, seeking to block Shilo from discharging the debt altogether. From Darjean's perspective, the judgment is legitimate and binding. From Shilo's perspective, it's a crushing financial weight rooted in an incident he believes was not malicious, a burden he will carry indefinitely if the court does not intervene. And the legal tension doesn't end there. A law firm has sued Shilo as well, claiming he owes more than $164,000 in unpaid fees tied to the bankruptcy proceedings and the earlier lawsuit. Every corner of this case reveals another layer of financial strain. Attorneys, trustees, creditors, judgments. It is a maze, and every path leads back to the same question. How much of Shilo's present belongs to his past? Meanwhile, his football career, once promising, always dramatic, has been thrown into limbo. After being waived by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before the season, he finds himself without a team, without a roster spot, without the structure and support that football once offered. His younger brother, Shilo Sanders, now leads the Cleveland Browns as a rising quarterback, while their father remains one of the most influential and polarizing figures in college football. For Shilo, watching his family thrive while he remains stuck in legal quicksand adds another emotional layer to an already heavy storyline. There is pride, yes, but also a sharp awareness that his path is the one currently clouded by uncertainty, litigation, and financial distress. His bankruptcy case is still far from over. The trustee continues searching for assets, still working to determine what belongs to creditors and what belongs to Shilo. 2 more adversary complaints still hang over him. And until a judge rules on the motion to dismiss, the question of whether Shilo improperly moved $250,000 remains a live, looming issue. In a different reality, one not shaped by lawsuits, judgments, and filings, Shilo would simply be a young man pursuing a football career, navigating the highs and lows that come with a life built around the sport his family helped define. Instead, he finds himself in a fight where the opponent is not a wide receiver or a running back, but a legal system that demands absolute clarity and accountability. The stakes are not measured in yards or interceptions, but in dollars, debts, and a future that remains uncertain until the courts decide which version of his story carries more weight. The trustee's accusation of improper transfers or his attorney's insistence that this is all a misunderstanding of the law. The story of Shilo Sanders is no longer just about football. It is about consequences, choices, timing, and the long shadows that childhood events can cast across adulthood. It is about a legal battle that refuses to end and a young man trying to navigate a life split between the spotlight of a famous last name and the darkness of a financial crisis he cannot outrun. And until a judge weighs in, the saga continues. Tense, complex, and deeply human, much like Shilo himself.